Devlin, Untamed. The platform.
iOS, it's only sport. Martin Devlin, Lachlan Waugh. This is the name of our show every day on the platform. It's only sport, iOS, the podcast of it. You're about to listen to a highlights package condensed from the 3 hours we broadcast today. On the platform, what is the platform? Well, it's an app you've got to download, the platform New Zealand. It's 9 hours of free broadcasting, and this is the only independent daily sports show in New Zealand. Rugby, and so much rugby to talk about. Cracking way to start Super Rugby it was. Chiefs versus Crusaders. Justin Marshall all over that. His highlights, lowlights of the round, plus, of course, we got to talk about the not-so-smart mouthguards. How do I say this nicely? Mr. Emperor, you have no clothes on. We can see you're naughty. That's also the topic of the Big Moan Monday coming up on this podcast. Six Nations Rugby, Ireland turning into what the All Blacks used to be, which is the best team in between World Cups. They look as though they're about to go back-to-back and win back-to-back Grand Slams as well. League, Warriors versus Dolphins. Glenn Lama from Sky Sport all over that. The final preseason hit-out, plus Wigan versus Penrith. The World Club Challenge Showdown, mired by refereeing controversy. Liverpool won the first trophy in English football of the season this morning, something to celebrate. Motorsport, Supercars, Bathurst around SVG got third in Xfinity. We've got so much sport to talk about, trying to squeeze it all in. The Black Caps, well, what do you say? Dropped the ball literally and crapped the bed figuratively. Why can't we beat Australia? What is it about the Australians? We look at them and we play like frightened little mice. As well as that, we'll be positive with Matt Gunn, but begin the show the same way every day. We begin the program the same way every day. I say tablets in hand, gather my flock. It is time for a sermon. Winners and losers. Let's go to the mountaintop.
We live in an amazing, amazing world, and it's wasted on the crappiest generation of just spoiled idiots.
Winners and losers all over the wonderful world of sport from the weekend. Winners, Super Rugby. Not the whole thing, but definitely the opening round match Friday night between the Crusaders and Chiefs. Cracking game, good size crowd. Excellent way to start the comp. Losers, smart mouthguards. No, they aren't smart at all. They're stupid. They're dumb. They don't work. Plain and simple, technology gone mad. Ditch them before it gets to the stage. The ref's got to stop the game for 30 seconds to download an upgrade on the app, and the Wi-Fi's not working. Not smart, just World Rugby playing smarty pants with technology. Winner, the Australian cricket team. Demolished us Friday night to win the Chapel Hadley Trophy and leave the third T20 yesterday as another meaningless dead rubber match. Who doesn't fear now what their bowlers might do to us in the test after what we saw Friday night and Sunday afternoon? Losers. Super Rugby crowd. Nothing at all to celebrate. Chiefs Crusaders got a good turnout, but no other game really did. No one in Melbourne, barely anyone in Perth, and next week they've got the so-called magic round in Melbourne. The big magic trick will be trying to make it look like anyone's gone along to watch. Winner, Liverpool. First major trophy of the English football season up for grabs this morning, the League Cup. Liverpool winning it, playing their kids for the last half hour at Wembley. Not the most important trophy all year. Hey, no, certainly not, alongside the title in the Champions League, but a trophy it is nonetheless. Silverware is silverware. Losers, the Black Caps. Games 2 and 3, the performances were woeful, inept. When Mitch Santner trotted out to bat at number 3 on Friday night, when he trots out to bat at number 3 in any game of cricket, let alone versus Australia, you know that we are in deep doo-doos. We shite the bed when we play them, don't we? It's embarrassing. It really is embarrassing. We just seem to crap ourselves. We seem to play like little frightened mice. Winner, Supercars. Just by being back, they're winning. No, Bathurst shouldn't be used for a standard round. It felt a bit weird that it wasn't really the great race, but Supercars is back, and who doesn't love that? Loser, English rugby. A scratchy win versus Italy, a dodgy win versus Wales, and now a loss to Scotland in the Six Nations. They are really struggling, and worse than that, they're just awful to watch. Winner, Scottish and Irish rugby. The two big winners, in fact, from the Six Nations over the weekend. The Irish look on track to win it all again, could even go back-to-back with Grand Slams, which would be a first. No one's ever done that in that competition. Scotland winning the match that mattered most to them, and that's the Calcutta Cup versus the old enemy, England. Loser, the the Vancouver 7. Please. World Rugby, what are you thinking? No one there, flogging a dead and decaying horse. How about this from one of the commentators I heard when I switched on over the weekend? And that's into the try zone for a 5-pointer. Clearly acknowledging that the game has not taken off at all in Canada. They don't know anything about it. It's not breaking the North American market, creative new synergies, expanding growth strategies, and burgeoning marketing opportunities. We can all see it with our own eyes. Your PR fluff is nothing but guff. Finally, winner, the Warriors. Not the game. It was very hot and cold. That's the performance I'm talking about. But again, another great crowd for the Warriors. 15,000 plus for a pre-season match. And apart from the Chiefs and the Crusaders, Super Rugby in no way could match that.
Devlin.
What do you want? We want information. Information. You won't get it.
The platform.
That after news headlines, Lock. What have we got?
Well, I'm going to start off with something that made my wake up this morning just a little bit easier on a very dreary, nasty
No, it's worth
Monday.
celebrating, mate. It's a trophy. Go on.
Yeah, okay.
Might be the only one you win.
By Simon Virgil van Dijk at the bottom of a pile of red joy.
And yes, Liverpool winning the League Cup this morning against Chelsea in the final at Wembley. A result that, unfortunately, I couldn't get up and watch, even though I set my alarm, because I don't have beIN Sports. Anyway, Liverpool winning 1-0 in the end after extra time. Virgil van Dijk, the captain, scoring the winner in the 118th minute. It's the second time in 3 years Liverpool have won the League Cup. And the best part about it is that towards the end of the game in extra time, Liverpool brought on a number of the youngsters that have come up through the academy in the last couple of years, while Chelsea stuck with pretty much close to their best team, or one of the renditions of their first teams. Played defensive counter-attacking football and paid the price. Lost to a group of youngsters. It's quite amusing. So that's Liverpool's first trophy of the season. Hopefully not their last. Though I'm sure you're hoping it is, Martin. There was a Premier League match this morning. Wolves beating Sheffield United 1-0. A few other results from over the weekend, including a defeat at Old Trafford for Manchester United, 2-1 against Fulham.
That was a shocker, mate. They deserve to win. Look, Ian's already texted, and if you got the big loser, mate, that was your mob at home to Fulham. You're exactly right, mate.
Good win for Arsenal at home to Newcastle. They are scoring goals for fun at the moment. Man City got a victory as well. So in terms of the Premier League table, it remains Liverpool on top, 60 points. Man City 59, Arsenal 58. There's now 6 points between third and fourth on the table. Villa and fourth, Tottenham fifth. Did Tottenham lose again?
They didn't play.
They didn't play. That's right. Their game, but they lost the weekend before against Wolves. But their game was against Chelsea. Of course, they didn't play because of the League Cup final. Italy, first five. Paolo Garbisi hit the post with a last gasp penalty to let 14-man France off the hook in a tense 13-all draw in the Six Nations. So the shot clock with the penalty kicks going down, it falls off the tee, but the shot clock doesn't stop. And then the guy has to quickly try and reset and kick it in time, and he can't.
And this was indoors, so how the hell did the ball fall off the tee? There's no wind to knock it off there.
Maybe it was a French breeze.
Yeah, maybe.
That's the final of the three matches of the Six Nations from over the weekend. Ireland beating Wales pretty handily, 31-7. And Scotland with a very good victory over England, 30-21. So Ireland's still very much in control. Supercars return this weekend. Just been 2 races up at Mount Panorama, Bathurst, which is a bit of a strange place to start the season, considering Bathurst usually has the 1,000, not this 2-race 500 thing they got going on. But anyway, a really good weekend for Red Bull. Brock Feeney winning the first race. That was finished under safety car conditions. Second race won by Will Brown. So they certainly look to be the pace setters early on in the season. Not a bad performance from Kiwi Matt Payne yesterday. I think he came about 6th or 7th. Did well in the end. New Zealand has missed the chance to go top of the Sail GP leaderboard, with host Australia claiming victory on their home waters in Sydney. The Kiwi crew crossed the line last in the 3-boat final race. Australia and Denmark finishing first and second respectively. This is the leaderboard after 8 events. Australia on top with 68 points. New Zealand are on 58 in second. Denmark with 52 in third. The next event is in Christchurch, so perhaps some home waters will do New Zealand some good. Apart from that, not a huge amount going on in the world of sport, at least within the last sort of 24 hours or so. So that's what's making news, Martin.
Devlin.
Oh my goodness me!
The platform.
Super Rugby then, Justin Marshall. Kicked off by the Chiefs beating the Crusaders. Crusaders looked all right, that I thought. The New Zealand teams all winning, apart from, obviously, the Crusaders. Look at the points table. They're 7th at the moment. Who else impressed Justin out of the Australian teams? Brumbies and Reds, big scores. He was also at the Highlanders versus MP. His expert analysis, the 81 Test veteran of the All Blacks, starts now. First thing I'd written down was cracking game, Chiefs Crusaders Friday night, and it really was. I mean, I'll talk about the smart mouthguards. Obviously, that's a big topic of conversation, but just in terms of the rugby, I thought it was high quality.
Yeah, so did I. And, usually you get a little bit of, I guess, a lethargic start from the players and some errors that this first season hit-out type games, and the intensity goes up from the pre-season, but this game delivered on all departments. It was physical, it was fast, there was obviously drama involved in it as well, and it was just of the highest quality, which was really good to see that we could get a product like that in the first round. And the game could have gone either way, to be honest, and an awesome crowd as well. So, yeah, what a blockbuster game to start off Super Rugby on Friday night.
Crusaders scrum. It said to me, Justin, I mean, obviously you hears me talking about scrums, but it said to me that with Owen Franks on board, that if they can get the dropsies fixed up and just some midfield problems and stuff like that, that the platform was actually there for them. Do you agree?
Yeah, I do agree. And, we spoke last week and I said to you I was unsure about this Crusaders side and how they were going to adapt to a new coach and missing personnel, and the jury is out a bit for me. Well, I was really refreshed by what I saw at the weekend. On Friday night, I thought that they took a little bit of time to find their rhythm, and Rayhana grew into the game and then started to show the quality of why he was selected. And then, like you said, Rob Penny, with his astute coaching, realised that the game was gravitating in the wrong direction for them, and it needs to tighten it up a bit. And he made some substitutes, some changes. They put the squeeze on, and they put the squeeze on that, I guess, relatively inexperienced Part 5 of the Chiefs compared to them, and they just started to flex their muscles and change the dynamic of the way the game was flowing, and it was really impressive to see them do that. Yes, they didn't win, but there was enough good moments in that game and good signs of maturity to show that they're still going to be a side that should be there or thereabouts come finals time.
The only thing, if I have to put, and I've always got to put a spanner in the wheel, don't I? But the only thing is I just wanted to see all of our best players playing. And, Justin, I got a list of names. There's 7 guys playing in Japan at the moment who all played the Rugby World Cup final, who've all been playing in Japan for weeks and playing 80 minutes. And it's bloody frustrating as a fan of this game that our guys are still getting limited minutes and managed game time and all of this kind of stuff. Get them on the bloody field and let them play.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with you. And I just feel that when we've got a product that, people are debating about where it's going to go, and, where we're going to get that excitement back, what you need in that product is the best players turning out each week, world-class players, internationals, bringing their skill set to every weekend. And that's what people want to tune in to see. So I'm absolutely on that page. And I get it to a degree, what the All Blacks are trying to do and how controlling they are in the New Zealand Rugby Union in their policies and what they feel is best for the players. But sometimes it just doesn't make sense, like common sense.
No.
Now let's think of Ethan Blackadder. Yes, he's got a slight calf issue at the moment, but regardless of him having that or not, he's on mandatory rest. Mate, he played 1 game for Tasman, and then he got over to the Rugby World Cup, where I think he played only 1 game over there, and yet they put him on All Black rest.
Same. Yeah, so look, I'd the name Roy. Yeah, I'd Roygard written down, who in the end didn't play the last 3 or 4 weeks at the World Cup. Play the guy every bloody week. That's what he wants to do. He needs more game time. Just because he's an All Black, he's an inexperienced All Black. So let him play.
If you bumped into either one of those guys, either at the supermarket or the pub, whichever one takes your fancy, I guarantee you, and you asked them, you said to them, are you happy to be on rest, or would you rather be out there with the boots on? I bet you I know the answer to that, and all of you out there listening probably do as well.
Back to Scott Barrett we go, mate. Here we go. 26 seconds of frustration here, Justin.
Honestly, I think it's probably a step too far from a player. When you're getting dragged and you're looking around what actually happened, I think it's obviously, we want player welfare and that's paramount, but I think if you're influencing the game when key players are going off and they don't know what for, I think that can be frustrating for a player. So I think, it needs to happy medium somewhere within it.
The only thing that Scooter didn't mention there was frustrating also for the spectator, because as a spectator, you deserve better. And when I saw the look on Anton Leonard-Brown's face, you saw it as well, Justin. It's like, what the hell? Look, they're obviously not quite there yet, this technology, is it?
No, it's not. And I think, you could see not only by both players' reactions, Quinton Strange was the same. He was really unsure at what was happening because he didn't feel that there was any head contact or any reason for him to have an HIA, and obviously everybody saw Anton Leonard-Brown as well. So, look, technology, when it comes in, it's always tedious. It always has its teething problems. There's no exception, obviously, to this mouthguard technology, because we've seen it in round one where we've had 2 players leave the field when they felt they were perfectly fine and didn't suffer any head contact. The thing with this technology is, and I tried to explain it, from my perspective of when I played, I always wore a mouthguard right from when I was young all the way through Super Rugby and the All Blacks. It was part of my kit. But I did that because when I took heavy contact and I took a shot from someone like Jerry Collins in the ribs, or anywhere that wasn't high, I always clenched my teeth because it's a natural impulse for your whole body to just go, oh, man, that hurt.
Yeah.
But you've not been hit anywhere near the neck or head region. You've just been hit hard, and it makes your natural instinct is to tense everything up, including biting down on your gum shield. So they've got to look at that, because I think this is possibly what's happened to those 2 players. They've been hit decently, nowhere near the head region, but they've clenched down on their mouth guards, which is registered. And obviously the technology doesn't allow you to see where that contact has been. It just shows a big clenching of the jaw. So they're going to have to find a way to make that work. I understand the safety of the players. And I guess the other thing I'll throw into the pot is I thought we kind of had it under control. I thought we were doing a really good job with that independent assessor, and he was getting them off when he saw head knocks, and everybody was being looked after properly. Now we've brought something else in just to confuse the whole situation.
To hear the full interview, download the platform at the App Store. Via Platform Plus, you can go back and listen to the whole show and all of the interviews in full. Moan. I'm moaning all the time. Oh, it's Monday. I've got to moan on, all right. Smart mouthguards, or as they're going to be forever known from now on as not so smart mouthguards or dumbass mouthguards. World Rugby, bless your interfering souls, because you give us enough ammo for a whole year's worth of Big Moan Mondays every time a game is played. Now it's the newfangled high-tech gadget invention to help in the war on on-field concussion. 2 players, Quinton Strange and ALB, in the Chiefs Crusaders match Friday night, forced off the field for HIAs because the mouthguard told some keyboard boffin in some back room somewhere that they were potentially concussed. Look, it's all well and good, and we all know and agree with the intention, which is supposedly only about keeping the players safe, and the game's administrators from adding another 400 names to the class action lawsuit in England, which threatens to kill the sport completely. But it also, on the evidence from Friday night, is embarrassingly inaccurate. Both those players passed their HIAs and both look completely bemused when ordered off the field. Clearly the technology, the data, the analysis isn't absolutely accurate. It errs too much on the side of caution. And again, like everything World Rugby introduces, stops the game's flow and only ever causes more confusion for the players, more annoyance for the spectators. How do I say this clearly? They don't work. Clearly. And until they do, until they're guaranteed foolproof, then the trial needs to stop. It might be a good idea. It certainly is a noble idea. But again, clearly, obviously, right now, the technology isn't ready. It's not quite there.
Devlin.
I'm as mad as hell, and I'm not going to take this anymore.
The platform.
Tom Rennie from talkSPORT, one of our old mates. He guests on the show every week as we talk Premier League. Well, the 2 teams behind Liverpool closed the gap at the top of the table, while Liverpool were winning the very first trophy up for grabs in the English football season. That was the League Cup against Chelsea. Tom was at that game at Wembley, and it was a Liverpool under-18 side largely that beat a Chelsea bunch of billionaires. Remarkable. Tom. Wembley. Well, the first trophy of the season's been decided. Silverware is silverware. You can't deny that. Liverpool have won a trophy that they normally don't sort of rate that highly, but with a team of kids on the pitch beating a €1 billion team from Chelsea.
Yeah, I mean, look, it was a really good Carabao Cup final. It was a really enjoyable game, considering that it was very nearly yet another game at Wembley between these two that didn't have a goal in it. There was some amazing stories, some really interesting narratives, and of course, the Jurgen Klopp farewell tour continues to be a fascinating part of the back end of this season. And look, I think Chelsea probably in the end should have won the game. There were chances that Conor Gallagher had at the end of the match, towards the end of the regulation 90 minutes, that should have been converted. But, you know, I've watched on a few Chelsea games recently, Man City, and I went to Crystal Palace at Selhurst Park, and they are just so poor at converting chances. They are so poor at being clinical in front of goal. And there were times today where Pochettino got it right. Knock it over the top, stretch the back line, get players in behind, take the chance when it comes. And every single time it happened, Nicholas Jackson lost the flight of the ball. Raheem Sterling couldn't control it. Ibrahim Konate makes an amazing challenge because Cole Palmer didn't get the ball out of his feet in time. Over and over and over again, this happened in this game. And it cost Chelsea in the end. And look, Liverpool had problems. I think losing Gravenberch to that awful tackle from Moises Caicedo should have been more punished on the field at the time. Gravenberch went off. In the end, Liverpool had Dan's up front, the 18-year-old who made his debut against Luton in midweek. They had McConnell in midfield, who I'd not seen previously before today. Bobby Clark I'd seen a couple of times, but not a great deal of. Jarrell Quansah came on. These are teenagers. There were 4 teenagers on the field who barely played first-team football at the back end of the game for Liverpool. But the whole kids narrative is a bit over-egged when you consider Malo Gusto's only about 20. Axel Disaster's still a pretty young player. Levi Colwell's still a young player. Conor Gallagher is still a young player, despite how long we've known him. Cole Palmer's only 20. So, look, Pochettino made the point in his post-match press conference that was broadly right, that average squad to average squad was pretty much the same for the two. The thing is, Liverpool's players more or less came through the Liverpool Academy. Chelsea's players were bought with this wild amount of money that Todd Bowley and Vidal Bali, who were in attendance today, have splurged on this squad that still doesn't really make a great deal of sense.
Yeah, so you know, how does what happens with all of that? Because Pochettino's come back in as the Chelsea manager. Well, I mean, there are going to be catcalls already for his head, isn't there? And when you've spent all of that money, there's got to be results.
Yeah, look, I think Pochettino post-game was asked a really interesting question. In the TV commentary, Gary Neville had this line saying Klopp's kids beat the blue bottle jobs or something of that ilk. I was doing my own commentary at the time, so I didn't hear it verbatim, but it was quoted to him in the press conference by a journalist, and he was really taken aback by it because even though the criticism was harsh and it sounded like a really prepared but pretty decent line, it rang true. Pochettino was scrambling to come up with a riposte to it because he knew it was true. In extra time in that game, he had the ability, and wherever you think of these players, I don't think of them highly, but wherever you think of them, they had Mikhailo Mudryk and they had Noni Madueke to come on. Combined, they cost around £110 million. These players have been scouted, they have been bought, they have been put into this team to come on and be a difference maker. And neither of them did a thing after they came on. And, you know, as much as it's Pochettino's, you know, fault, for the want of a better term, these players are not living up to their billing. The scouting department has not done their job in bringing the right players in to suit this particular manager's style of play. There is so much going wrong at Chelsea right now. And you compare that to Liverpool, who, look, again, so many problems today, but they found Darwin Núñez. Would Darwin Núñez work at another club? There was talk about him being linked to Chelsea, but look, who hasn't been linked to Chelsea? You think about Mo Salah, who didn't play today, and that was the big surprise pre-match that he wasn't in the squad. He found at Chelsea, had a couple of decent hits elsewhere, but would he work somewhere else where Jurgen Klopp has not built a team around him? But they thought about it, they researched it, they built a front line around Salah, and he's gone to be one of the greatest scorers in Premier League history. Chelsea is a wild hodgepodge of players. I do think Pochettino is a good coach. I do think he is improving things, but they are so far behind Liverpool, Arsenal and Man City as things stand. For $1 billion spend, I think they would have quite rightly expected more. And in extra time, I thought Pochettino could have expected more of the players that have been signed for him. He didn't get it, and that's why they couldn't win the game. there was nothing left in the Chelsea tank at the time where Chelsea of old would have come to the fore.
The Type
I know, we
5.
go, no. Just in case the smart mouthguard didn't pick it up. 5 separate sporting topics then. The Warriors' effort versus the Dolphins. What can be read into that? Andrew Webster afterwards, honest as always. Penrith versus Wigan, since we're talking league. What could be read into that result? I watched that game yesterday. Super Rugby Round 1. You heard from Justin, Lachlan. Highlights and lowlights for you. The not-so-smart mouthguard scheme. Of course, World Rugby are just doubling down on this, isn't it? I mean, there was a guy that was on the breakdown apparently on Sky last night from World Rugby who's just extolling the virtues of this. 6 Nations. Are Ireland doing an All Blacks? Are they going to be the best team in the world in between World Cups? Because nobody wants to be that team. Black Caps versus Oz. Oh, God. Can we start? Let's start there, shall we? The Black Caps versus Oz, Friday night, Sunday afternoon. Shat the bed, embarrassing. It's like we're afraid of them, isn't it? Dropping catches. Just not even able to play our best cricket. That's the most frustrating thing watching. And when I've got to ask Rahul about this. Ish Sodhi, one of the most basic things you get taught in cricket and in rugby when the ball goes up in the air is what?
Catch it.
Or there's somebody else in your team close by. What do?
Well, you call for it.
You call, don't you? My ball.
Yeah.
Or yours.
Yeah, I saw that.
Okay? I mean, how many times does it have to happen? I mean, that's just inexcusable. These are professional cricketers. They never make those mistakes, but they make them against Australia. Why?
I don't know. Is it like when you're a young man and you get to that sort of size and you start growing up and you're a teenager and you're hitting puberty and you rate yourself and you go, I can take Dad down in a fight, and then Dad just... No.
He wrestles you to the ground, pins you down again.
You've got to wait till he's in his 60s
gives you a horse bite,
beat him.
Yeah. That's what it feels like. It feels to me, it's kind of like when Mum's around, okay, this is what it feels like. This is the analogy I'll use. When Mum's around, and I was a little brother, and so when Mum's around, you give it lots of lip and you give it lots of
then
jib.
when Dad turns up.
And then when you run out into the backyard to play and Mum's not there, then all of a sudden it changes because you can't run back to Mum when Big Brother starts beating up on you. Okay?
Oh, well, I never had that.
So when Mummy's in the room, Black Caps are hard as. But when Mummy leaves the room and it's just the Australian players left.
Okay, I'll raise you on that and I'll agree, but it's me and my sister, because I didn't grow up with a brother beating me up. I grew up with a sister who was still, once she threw a sliding, window into my head and gave me a black eye. But anyway, so we'd give Mum a bit of jip, as you say, and kind of be all like smart ass kids, and then she'd be like, wait till your father gets home. We'd be like, sure.
Yeah.
Well, that's like 2 hours away. That's half our lives. We're only 5 years old, so sure. Then when Dad gets home, he comes by and looks for the kids because Mum's told him that we've been little
mouthy and a bit lippy, and that's right. Then everything changes.
Then we get scared. Yeah. So Australia is Dad, Black Caps are child, and then every other team that they beat is Mum.
Yeah, there you go. That is it. That is the analogy. Warriors versus the Dolphins. And I'm going to start with this instead of starting with the Super Rugby because, once again, great crowd at Mount Smart. The equivalent, if not better, than the Chiefs versus the Crusaders on Friday night. I thought there was a great crowd with the Super Rugby, but the Warriors back-to-back weekends for pre-season games have racked up well over 30,000 spectators. So aside from the actual performance, Lachlan, which we'll discuss with Glenn Lama, who's the chief caller from Sky Sport shortly, first and foremost, you know what's happening every home game, don't you? The Warriors are selling out. Yeah. What would the Blues in Auckland give for those crowds?
A lot.
20,000 at Eden Park, 24,000 at Eden Park every time they play at home. They would kill for that. Every single Super Rugby side in this country would kill for that. You're lucky to spread that crowd between 3 games in New Zealand. So, the evidence is there and it's in front of all of us to see. That's the only point I'm going to make about that. Penrith versus Wigan. The Poms love beating the NRL champions because then they think that they've got a competition that is at least its equal. I watched this game. The Wigan Warriors were impressive. They're a good team, no question about that. Different kind of rules. They slow it down a lot in the Northern Hemisphere like they do with their rugby. You're allowed to lie all over the guy in the tackle like you're used to with the NRL. The NRL seems a bit faster as a game.
Right.
And the refereeing, quite confusing. If the Aussie team gets a try, it's normally no try. That's what I read in that game yesterday. The refereeing was just dreadful.
Well, it's going to be different at least because it's going to be reffed by a bloke in the UK, and it's a Super League ref, right? And so it's always going to be a different interpretation of the laws. So
Yeah, but a try is a try is a try, isn't it? If you get the ball down.
yeah, but like in the NRL, it's a bit like rugby where you'll have a decision for a try and you'll be like, oh, but I need sufficient evidence to overturn it. And they might be more inclined to say, no, that is a try. Show me a reason why it's not. Whereas you said there, every try that the Panthers scored, it was like, no try.
No, there's no try. No, there's no try. You know, it did have that feeling to it. I also got to say, Nathan Cleary, for almost 45 minutes afterwards, going around the ground, taking selfies, signing autographs, having a chat to fans, he would have been bitterly disappointed. He's such a competitor and everything else. But obviously knowing the occasion, the importance of it, the fact that these fans have all paid good money, you know...
He gets it.
I admire guys and girls that do that. I remember in 1999, after we lost the World Cup semi-final to France, bitterly disappointed. The only players were Justin Marshall and Jonah who went round and thanked the All Black fans for turning up. You know? That's the real measure of a person in every which way.
League has always done better with that than say rugby, and rugby continues to be a sport that. Well, don't worry. I mean, I heard on a rival radio station over the weekend, Mark Robinson talking, and someone said something along the lines of, "Oh, you talk about wanting to be fan-centric, and it doesn't seem like that's really working out too well." Blah blah blah. And he's like, "Oh, I reject that.
I've said fan-centric, and I've said marketing opportunities,
it means
creative
that we're doing
synergies, and exciting new creative strategies, which means it's working."
Yeah. I've said it. I said fan-centric. So everyone's got to flood to Eden Park when the Blues play Moana Pacifica on a Sunday afternoon.
Because it is now. Yeah, that's it. Yeah. So, the not-so-smart mouthguard scheme, once again, rugby turns itself into an absolute joke and a laughing stock on a world stage, doesn't it? And World Rugby will never back down. They'll never admit that they're wrong. But do we have that quote from Justin? Did you recycle that?
Oh, I'm getting there.
Oh, you're getting there. Okay. Well, we'll play this to you in about another 20 minutes. But he's quite clear, Justin Marshall, about an hour ago. He said, look, when he used to get tackled by, big Jerry Collins hit or something like that, he said, you bite down on your mouth guard. It's just a normal reaction. It's like, if you, I don't know, go to the dentist or the doctor and they're doing something painful, you might ask for something to bite into. It's just a natural human reaction. When pain happens, you bite down. The technology isn't entirely accurate. And unless it is, you can't have it interrupting a game. If that had cost the Chiefs on Friday night, if Leonard Brown coming off and the guy that replaced him missed a tackle because he'd only been on the field for 10 seconds or something.
Well, it's a halfback. The bloke who went into midfield was Xavier Rowe, I'm pretty sure.
And it was very fortunate for the Chiefs that the second five from Canterbury, I can't remember who he was.
Dallas McLeod dropped
the ball when it came to him because they were marching up the field to get a penalty or another chance to score, right?
Yeah. Well, that outscored the Chiefs like 20, it would have been something like 19-3 in the second half. Something ridiculous.
Yeah, you just said there, honestly, you scratch your head with rugby, don't you? I mean, what do you have to add another chapter? How can we possibly cock this game up
what
further?
They're doing,
Chapter 95, introduce the smart mouth guard.
I look forward to the, smart socks and the smart strap and whatnot. The smart scrum tape, the smart headgear.
You just know.
What do I do that? Oh, no, not everyone wears it, I guess. Anyway, but what it is, and you touched on it, but it's just the sport just trembling and quaking in their boots over this lawsuit that's going on and potential future ones. They just want to make it look like they're doing everything they possibly can, even if it makes no sense whatsoever, to be preserving the head health of players.
What do we accuse women of? Overthinking. Don't we?
Yeah.
Okay? We all accuse women of...
I don't.
I mean, when I say we, I mean the collective we. I mean, I'm not talking about myself and I'm not talking about Lachlan here, but if you're the kind of man that's ever said to a woman, you're overthinking it, good God, you know what reaction you get from that. It's just like... and this is what World Rugby are doing. You're just interfering so much. It's kind of like... I've got the most basic pasta ingredients. I got the pasta. I got the chicken. I got the beautiful sauce going. By the time you put kale in it and carrots in it and you've added Mexican spice, what the are you doing, mate? Just leave the bloody thing alone, right? Yeah. It used to work. Finally. Six Nations, Ireland doing an All Blacks. This is a great Ireland side. Make no mistake about that. They won 18 in a row before they got to us in the quarterfinal. I honestly think that they're doing what we used to do. It's all now coming down Ireland. You might go back to back and do 2 Grand Slams and all of that in a row, and you might do 3 in a row. It's all coming down to Australia in 2027, isn't it?
Yeah.
The rest of it don't count for you guys now. No. You've got to win a quarterfinal. And this is now a stumbling block is what it is. It's like the Black Caps playing Australia. As soon as you see, it's a quarterfinal.
Yeah.
Wigan versus Penrith, the great showdown between the hemispheres to rule rugby league. Back to back to back. Champions of the NRL, Penrith. Wigan Warriors, though, upsetting the apple cart again. That's the second year in a row that Penrith haven't won this game. Is it fair? Their season's only just starting. Well, Wigan's hasn't really been going on that long. Certainly the refereeing wasn't. And why not? Mike Meehall from the Raw out of Sydney explains. Mike, a lot of chit and chatter after that game yesterday between Penrith and Wigan. First and foremost, the refereeing. Did they get those try decisions right?
The short answer is no. I think you'd be a fairly one-sided Wigan fan to think that they were correct. Certainly the Jake Wardle one was, not in the memory of man. Was that a try? But look, the Panthers had plenty of opportunities. Wigan defended really well. I don't think in the end it was a necessarily unfair result. But yeah, I think the nuts and bolts of it, as it were a little bit harsh on the Panthers. But they played a team that's got a third of the salary cap that they have, so they should have been able to take it out of sight. I thought Wigan were equally as good as Penrith and got a bit of luck, which is what happens in big games sometimes.
Yeah, what are we meant to read into it? Because, it's just so easy to overread things into matches like this, isn't it?
Yeah, look, the NRL is obviously better than the Super League, but I think, the top 2 or 3 teams in the Super League now are such well-run organisations, and the NRL, despite having lots more money, often has some poorly run organisations, certainly not the Panthers, who would be among the best. But I think maybe 5 years ago, you would have given very little chance to Super League teams against any NRL sort of big hitters. But now we've seen with St Helens come out to Penrith and win. We've now seen Wigan beat Penrith at home. Like, I don't think they're that far off. I wouldn't say across a full season they wouldn't have the depth, but third of the salary cap. If they had more money, they probably have more depth. But in terms of on a one-off occasion between the best teams in Super and the best teams in NRL, it's certainly not as far as it once was. And yeah, Saints and Wigan are great footy sides who can definitely beat the best in the NRL on an occasion, which has happened. I think it's a bit of a fluke. It's happened 2 years in a row, but it certainly breathes life into the World Cup Challenge, which is, I think, one of the most underused concepts in rugby league. I think we should be putting a lot more effort into it. And I mean, taking aside the who won and who lost, like, it was a great game. It was a really good game, as was the game last week. Real tight battles, very defensive. The kind of footy that we all want to see.
We've had pre-season matches over the weekend, and so many of us here in New Zealand obviously got eyes on the Warriors and so forth. But the best rugby league that was on the screen was this particular match. The quality of it, I thought, was excellent.
Yeah, exactly. That's the point. Like, a lot of people, you sparkle about this on social media, and people say, "Oh, it's only a trial." Well, go and ask the Panthers if they thought it was a trial. Go and ask St Helens and Wigan. Ask the Panthers how much they cared this year because they lost last year. So it isn't a trial, and you only have to watch 5 minutes of the game to see that it's not a trial. It's a proper game that both sides care. There was a blue within 60 seconds. That's right. So that doesn't happen in trial games. Guys are getting stuck into each other, and 25,000 people in the stadium. That's sold out the stadium in Wigan. I'm sure if they'd had more seats, they could have sold them. So you see the hype around the game and just what it can do. And I thought it was a brilliant way to start 2024 for rugby league across the world.
Well, rugby's wanted to do this, put the Crusaders, who are the Super Rugby champs, obviously up against the best of the Northern Hemisphere and trying to sort of coordinate the calendars and can't seem to actually put the egg on the piece of toast. But there's always the questions about, is one team at the end of their season or in the middle of their season, the other team starting their season? And so that imbalance, does that have a lot to do with it? We're Penrith, I suppose, a long-winded way of asking, ready to play that particular match at that level?
Well, firstly, Wigan have only had one game. So the difference, I think, is that Wigan also had trial games before that, but there was nothing stopping Penrith organising trial games. They could have, Manly played South knowing that they were going to Vegas. They played a week before the trials and gave guys like Luke Brooks, he had a run for Manly. So Penrith, I know last year as well, they sort of complained about this. Not Penrith the club, because they never complain about anything. They're usually pretty good, but Penrith supporters complained about it, and I thought, well, you had a trial the week before against Parramatta and you played your kids. You could have played you could have given these players a run, and Wigan, I think, looked better for having had their players have a run, even if it was, they played Castleford last week, but they actually ended up losing players as a result. They had players take HIAs and suspensions from that game, so it wasn't necessarily a positive. But they did play, they thrashed my team, Hull FC, in the pre-season friendly. Well, the Panthers could have rung up the Broncos or the Roosters and said, look, we're all travelling here, let's play a pre-season before the pre-season, so they've at least got a hitter. They could have done that, but they, for whatever reason they don't. I think they prefer the time on the training field. So I think it's a little bit overplayed. Now, back in the day, when the Panthers won their first NRL Premiership and played Wigan 2 weeks after the grand final, and Wigan were in the middle of their season and the Panthers had just finished theirs, they lost as well because they'd been on the drink for 2 weeks and because Wigan had been playing proper footy. So that would have been an argument in 1991. But I think now you mentioned with the Super Rugby stuff there, I think now it is basically this is the best time to play it. I think I like it as a season opener. Like nobody is trying to say that this is, the elite of the elite. That's why we play premierships for 26 rounds, and this is why we play internationals at the end of the season, where you get to put England's best against Australia's best, if they ever actually played each other. But you get to see New Zealand's best against Australia's best and Samoa and Tonga. So I think this is the place it has to sit in the calendar. This is when it's, I think, of the most excitement value, and it is a really good way to start the season. It's almost the last game of last season is the first game of this season. So I really like it. What I would love to see is it to be part of the Vegas extravaganza, or even actually wrote a column about this last week, that it should be a sellable product that they move around the world and say, sell it to the Saudis or to the Qataris or, that part of the world where there's loads and loads of money for big one-off sporting events. I think that's what the World Cup Challenge should be. Look, much as I loved it being in Wigan and I loved it being in Penrith last year, I think maybe that's the future of it as a real money-making product. And you could even sell it to Auckland and play it there if you wanted to, if the Warriors didn't make it.
LBP, let's be positive. Matt Gunn joining us out of Twizel. So much to be positive about. That's right, his doggies lost. The Warriors, though, looking good for parts of that game. The Highlanders, excellent. And we're going to have to talk about cricket. Australia, what is it when we play Australia at cricket? I think it's a bit like, when you got your big brother in the kitchen and you're having a bit of a row, a bit of a fight, and mum's there, you get all mouthy, you get all lippy, and you know that mum's always going to be there for you, right? As soon as you get out in the backyard and she's gone, she's doing something else in the house, well, it all changes. Yeah, Mum! That's kind of what it feels like when we play the Aussies at cricket. But Matt, I'm sure you're going to be positive about our performances. There was a time on Wednesday night, Matt, and you needed 35 off 2 overs where all of us on this side of the Taz thought, hello, finally New Zealand, we got a great side, we're going to put you to the sword. You got that 35 with a 4 on the last ball, and you could kind of feel the air being let out of the tyres, couldn't you? The balloon was pricked, and so it proved over the weekend. Mate, that was awful from the Black Caps. I mean, I can't even be any... There is no positives to take from what happened on Friday and what happened yesterday. We were pathetic.
Yeah, well, as you say, the midweek game, which was decided on the last ball, I thought was setting up for a terrific series. And then the next 2 games, they were just rubbish.
Yeah, rubbish.
Australia were just absolutely dominant. And what you got to remember, Martin, is this isn't what you would call our top Test side, is it?
You see that?
As we look slightly ahead, like there's some very good players played in those T20 games, but let's be honest about it. Did you even know who some of them were? And yet they still came out and got the job done, performed yesterday in that rain-interrupted match. Thursday the day, though, Martin. That's the one we've been waiting for, isn't it? Thursday.
Yeah, first Test, first ball bowled basin.
Thursday.
Okay, so Friday night, though, chasing 174 on postage stamp boundaries, that is Eden Park, where you get a snick, it goes for 6, and not been able to show. When I saw Mitch Satner coming at 3 holding the bat, I guffawed. And I thought, what? You're having a laugh, mate. At that stage, yeah, you kind of knew that we weren't going to do it. Glenn Phillips, to me, was the highlight on the mic. He was bloody brilliant. But yesterday, just that stop-start nature of it, mate, when a T20 is reduced to T10, just give it up. Just give everyone their money back and say, okay, this is this is where it turns into tomfoolery.
Yeah, you need, 12 and a half and over straight from the go, rain-interrupted match, and it just went nowhere. It was just an absolute fizzo, and we know it was a dead rubber. It didn't mean anything, but there's still people there, aren't there? Look, there's nothing you can do about the weather. It is what it is, and, the system of trying to correct the error of weather interruption, it's never really going to work.
No, it doesn't. Mathematical equation. It doesn't. Yeah, it is. I don't care what algorithm they lose. It always seems unfair to one side. That's the only thing I know about the Duckworth-Lewis. What? We chase that? What? You've only got to defend. You know what I mean.
Yeah, I know. It's just disappointing. But the truth is that Wednesday night did give us a little glimmer of how competitive it could be. The rest of the T20 series didn't do that. But let's hope the test match does. I've got a feeling, Martin, that even after the summer that the Black Caps have had, this might not be the greatest way to finish the summer.
See, why do we crap the bed against you? Go, why do we do? I mean, I think there is a fear factor in this. I really do. We play like frightened little mice when we play you guys. It's all that talk. While Mum's standing there, you can yell at your big brother and you can call him names and that. But when you get into the backyard and Mum's gone back inside, that's what it feels like when we play you.
Yeah. Well, the last two T20s, that's what it felt like.
Yeah.
And honestly, there was some desolate-looking faces yesterday as the Black Caps tried to score runs, and over after over just couldn't deliver, couldn't find the boundary enough, couldn't get up and under it. One of those boundaries, a couple of those boundaries at Eden Park, 51 metres.
I know, mate. I know. It's silly.
You can kick a rugby ball. You can kick a rugby ball from the middle and get 6 at Eden Park, couldn't you?
It's just.
If you've got to be honest about it, we expected a little bit more. But anyway,
yeah.
I am. I'm very much looking forward to Thursday. I don't have much on Thursday, and I suspect, like plenty of people in Wellington, I will be glued to the screen for the first day of the first test, and hearing them say a sold-out Wellington, it's just brilliant.
Yeah,
I
4 days.
I just can't wait to see it. Yeah, 3 or 4 days of sold-out cricket. Let's hope it goes 4.
Let's be positive. Yeah, and I just ignored that. See, I just let that go through the kid, mate. Let's be positive about our Wahs and our doggies. Mate, you only conceded 12 to the Sharks, but you only scored 6. I thought this was our year with the Bulldogs.
Oh, it is our year. That was a blip on the radar, as they say. That was we won't worry about the weekend against the Sharks. I mean, I did feel like it was 2022, 2023 when after 20 minutes we dropped the ball 9 times.
You like the Black Caps?
I thought, we can't take a catch to save our life. I thought, this is not our day for sure. Look, these pre-season matches, all I'm going to say is so many changes in and out of the squad. This isn't the squad that you will see perform, but we will need to be a little bit sharper on attack than we were against the Sharks. Let's just say that. It is our year, Martin. And on that, did you see the Highlanders over the weekend?
Yeah, I did. And look, I tell you what, best try I thought of the whole thing. And good on MP because they led at half time. And that to me was the second best game of the weekend. I'll get onto the mouthguards in a sec, but we might as well segue into Super Rugby. Cracking start, Chiefs Crusaders. But that game had to be good. If that game wasn't good, well, the competitions is a complete dud. And then, of course, there was the Force Hurricanes. Oh, that was it. And then there was the Brumbies versus Melbourne. And that's the problem with it. But yeah, I thought that game was actually the second best game. Everyone's been picking your Highlanders, mate. Everyone's been saying that, this is a team that's on the up and look good.
We're on the up.
Yep.
We're on the up. We're on the up. We gave up a few points, but at the end of the day, maybe one of the most positive starts we've had to a Super Rugby season in a very long time. The Hurricanes, Brumbies and Blues all getting the bonus point, Martin. But, I mean, you have a look at the bottom of the table there again, and it doesn't look that different than the last few years. Moana Pacifica, Waratahs, Drua, Fiji and Drua, the Rebels and the Western Force, all pretty much garbage. One highlight, obviously, though, is Crusaders sitting there in 7th.
Long may that continue. Long may that.
With just the lonely 1 point there, I can feel the depression coming out of Christchurch as we speak, and they will be hoping to bounce back. But Martin, I'm hoping at the end of next week they're still on 1 point, aren't you?
I think the whole world outside of Crusaders country is always hoping for that, isn't it?
We're just hoping.
We're just hoping. That's what we're just hoping, yeah, and maybe, yeah.
And just expect whatever else happens. I mean, you can only hope for the best.
To hear the full interview, download the platform at the App Store. Via Platform Plus, you can go back and listen to the whole show and all of the interviews in full. That's our podcast for today. Thank you so much for listening. If you want to listen to the entire show, 1 till 4, Monday to Friday, Download the Platform app, and via Platform Plus, you can go back and listen to whatever shows over however many weeks at your leisure, at your listening pleasure. Platform Plus. First thing to do, though, is download the Platform app.
Devlin.
Unbelievable! Incredible!
The Platform.